I want to share with you one of my favorite quotes in the world. It comes from the writer and activist Toni Morrison. "The function of freedom is to free someone else." I love this quote. I love it so much. And I love how much Morrison truly embodies it. Morrison loved reading and the worlds it gave her access to. But she also saw very, very clearly that her experience was not always represented in those worlds. So she created space by saying that her stories and her lived experiences were valid. And in creating space for herself, she created space for so many other people, people who also felt like their stories and their lives weren't necessarily heard. And it's this space that tells us exactly what our responsibility for being alive is. To give you another one of my favorite quotes, "Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth." We have to make space for ourselves and for others. We have to be willing to be brave and bold enough to sit at the table. So, what's the table? I define it as the place where decisions are made, decisions that can look like law or policy, or it could be something like representation or even the community story. Ultimately, it is the place where decisions are made. It is the place that defines our lives, whether we have been a part of that process or not. And sitting at the table is not always so easy. There are systems in place to keep people from sitting. There are social norms that make it that only one type of person should be there. Unconscious and conscious decisions are made every day. Bias is prevalent. There are certain tables that are designed to only sit a few people so that they can only help a few people. And sitting at the table is also hard because it means making yourself visible. And being visible, unless you are the type of person who is not like getting rolls of anxiety at 3 a.m. over doing these types of things, definitely not like myself, it's hard because it means all sorts of things. It means judgment, it means expectation, but above all, it means accountability. It means that you must free someone else. My own journey to the table has been fraught. I do not like to be seen. I do not like to be visible. Being visible means I have to show myself off. Being visible also means that I would do the work that I do in a very public way, which was great with successes and also maybe not so great if something failed. But I don't think that reluctance really gives me an excuse. How many of us remain unseen due to choice, or worse, because we have never been given a choice at all? To be seen, to be heard, to sit at the table, that is saying yes to knowing that we can do so much better. So, how do I sit at the table? This is the fun part. I don't actually know that answer. I don't actually think that there is one answer. I think to do that would reduce it. But what I am comfortable sharing with you today are the things that I have seen work, the things that I have seen happen to people that have not just allowed them to survive, but to truly thrive. Number 1, listen. I haven't ever really learned anything from speaking, which is really funny to say as I stand on stage in front of 200 of you speaking, and anxiously so. But it's true, the most powerful moments in my life have not come from speaking, but instead of listening. And I don't mean just like listening, I mean really deeply listening. Being heard affirms our existence. It is why we have relationships in the first place. When we listen, we place the value of expertise on the person in front of us. Number 2, practice empathy. President Obama recently said, "Expand your moral imagination with all those who struggle." That is work. Empathy is work. Empathy is really hard. Empathy demands that you listen to one another, that you take the time to understand one another. Empathy says that all people are the personal leaders of their own intimate experience. If someone shares with us their story, we must honor that in the best way we can. Number 3, Show up. As a community organizer, I get all sorts of questions, and most often I get, how do you do the work that you do? What's the secret to making it work? Show up. Go, do it. Like, if you say you're gonna do it, go do it. And that is not a secret, that is a demand. Showing up means that you are saying yes to doing the work, and saying yes is a way to begin. Number 4, last but not least, be visible, and then make someone else visible. So for the next few moments, I want everyone in the audience to close their eyes, and I want you to imagine a table. And this table is the place in your life where decisions are made, and it is where power is shared. And I want you to think very deeply about the next few questions I'm going to ask you. Who is at the table? Who is not? Why? What can you do to bring them to the table, to free someone else, and to free yourself? You can open your eyes. Sitting at the table is a duty, but it is also a privilege. It is the thing we must do as people invested and in love with our communities, but it is also the thing that is often the most limited in access. People ask me all the time, what can I do, what can I do? And I always say, be visible. Be visible, and then make someone else visible. We aren't always going to be successful at this work. We're not. That's why it's called the work. It's about showing up over and over, each time saying, yes, yes, I will be visible. Yes, I will make someone else visible. That is our responsibility. That is our rent paid for the privilege of being on earth. So, my dear TED audience, I leave you with this. Sit at the table and bring someone with you. Because the only way we are going to honor the legacy of all of those who have come before us and to pave the road for all of those who will have to do the hard work after us is if everyone is able to show up, speak their truth, and say, this is my place. This is my home. This is my community too. I belong at the table, and you do too. Thank you.